A while ago, I made this video about Lauryn Hill's Honey photo shoot. It's iconic. And ever since then, I've been curious about how some of the most famous hip-hop photos have come to be. Specifically, this set of photos. Every time I stumble across one of these, I notice something new. It took several viewings for me to notice Redman in the back, and later still I would come across these photos showing us that Nas was there too. But this specific photo has a pretty interesting story that includes Instagram, Snoop Dogg, the Jenners, and copyright law. Al Pereira describes himself as a pioneering hip-hop photographer. He's been the official photographer of the New York Jets since 1997, and several of his photos are part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Professional Football Hall of Fame, and the Smithsonian Museum. He's taken some of the most important and recognizable photos in music history. Allegedly, Pereira registered for the copyright of this set of photos in 2017. In this incredible book called Contact High, released in October of 2018, many photographers tell the stories of iconic hip-hop photos and how they came to be, including Al Pereira. Check out the book and the book's website if you're interested. They're both really cool. This set of photos of Tupac, Biggie, Redman, and Nas was taken by Pereira on July 23rd, 1993 at Club Amazon in New York City, with the performance photos being taken at the Palladium. Pereira was at the club to cover a DJ battle. He ran into Tupac in the later part of the night and asked if he could take some photos. According to Pereira, this was before Nas released Illmatic, and so the really famous guys in the room were Tupac, Redman, and Biggie. Then Redman jumps into the shot and this big guy came over. I had no idea who Biggie was, so to me, he was just some guy ruining my shot of the famous guys. Nas was the other guy in the frame that I didn't know, but he came over and they were all posing together, having fun. I was just clicking and in the energy of it all. I also loved that the image meant so much to Nas, as it showed one of his closest confidants' draws in several frames. Apparently, Pereira didn't notice that this photo was a part of the set until he looked at the contact sheet nearly 25 years later. The book even quotes Nas as saying, "Thank God there's pictures like these that pop up here and there. I never liked taking pictures back then." So this photographer knew what he was doing. Rest in peace draws from QB to my right. Fast forward 2 years and Nas posts this photo to his Instagram in September of 2020 with the caption, "I love this picture. Wild rebel innocence, born into a world of fire. To the young, keep the fight going." Fast forward 2 more years and Pereira files a lawsuit against Nas, alleging copyright infringement for this posting of the photo. Specifically, the complaint alleges that Nas knowingly engaged in infringement in an effort to increase his social media presence and music sales. It says, upon information and belief, the infringement increased traffic to the account and, in turn, caused defendant to realize an increase in the applicable revenues generated via record sales and or promotional performances. According to Hot New Hip Hop, selling these licenses of his art is reportedly how Pereira makes a living. And because Nas really posted the image online, the photographer argued that the picture has lost some of its value. Now, I'm no legal professional, but several things about this lawsuit don't sit right with me. First, it refers to Redman as a member of Wu-Tang Clan. What kind of lawyer wrote this? He didn't do his Googles very well. Second, in the book, both Nas and Pereira discuss that the photo is important to Nas because his late friend Draws is also in it. So the allegation that Nas posted it just for some sort of monetary gain seems disingenuous and contradictory to what had been stated previously. Third, while it took 2 years after Nas posted the photo to file the initial complaint, it only took 8 days for Pereira to voluntarily dismiss the lawsuit without prejudice. That's right. In just over a week, the complaint was filed and then dismissed. News organizations didn't even get word of this lawsuit until at least 2 weeks after it had already been dismissed. Nas never publicly addressed the lawsuit, and I couldn't find information on a settlement anywhere. So we don't know if either party paid the other, but we do know that since the complaint was dismissed without prejudice, Pereira could reopen the issue in the future. In 2017, the year before Contact High was released, Pereira opened a lawsuit against Kendall Jenner for copyright infringement. I say Kendall because I don't think Kylie was actually named in the lawsuit, which is strange because her name is on the brand too. Remember when Kendall and Kylie came under fire for superimposing photos of themselves over music legends? It's the same scandal. After some public backlash, a formal cease and desist from the attorney of Biggie's estate and statements from Sharon Osbourne and Valletta Wallace, Kendall and Kylie pulled the shirts in mid-2017. But this is where things get interesting. According to court documents, Pereira didn't register for the copyright on his own photo, this photo, until after it had been used on the shirts. Rather than offering up the $25,000 that Pereira was suing for, the Jenner's lawyers offered to settle for $100 and insisted that this was more than the maximum potential payout that Pereira could ever conceivably recover if he prevailed on all issues. Pereira denied the settlement, of course, which led to the Jenner's lawyers countersuing for court costs and attorney's fees and calling for sanctions, all of which were denied. Here's what Judge Abrams said in the discussion section of the court documents in reference to Pereira's attorney. The court is troubled by Mr. Leibowitz's conduct in this case, as in many of his law firm's hundreds of other cases, noting that plaintiff's counsel, Richard Leibowitz, is a known copyright troll, filing over 500 cases in this district alone in the past 24 months, and warning him that future frivolous arguments or filings in other cases may be sanctionable. I will note that Pereira used a different attorney for his lawsuit against Nas. Pereira soon dismissed the initial lawsuit he filed against Kendall Jenner and refiled another one for infringement that named Canada Inc. as the defendant. Canada Inc. is an apparel company and the parent company of the Kendall and Kylie brand. In this case, Pereira filed the suit at the end of March of 2018 and settled with Canada Inc. in late January of 2019, with prejudice, meaning that the issue cannot be reopened in the future, and there's no information about the settlement online that I could find, but each party was responsible for their own attorney's fees, which may indicate that there were no winners here at all. The Jenners were also sued by a photographer named Michael Miller in 2019 for using 2 photos of Tupac without permission in the clothing line back in 2017. Miller is also responsible for some incredibly iconic hip-hop photos. This suit was also dismissed with prejudice, and parties were responsible for their own fees. In response to Pereira's lawsuit against Nas, Snoop Dogg posted this video to Instagram.
Man, how's a motherfucker suing Nas for a picture that he in? You photographers done lost y'all motherfucking rabbit-ass minds, motherfucker. When you take a picture of a nigga, that picture ain't yours. That's a mere likeness situation. You're borrowing my likeness. And how you gonna sue Nas for a picture that he in? We need some new laws to help us as artists, man, because it's a bunch of motherfuckers selling pictures with my face on it and I don't get shit because they took the picture. Can anybody help me with that? Just a basic question.
The legality of this issue is actually pretty simple. If a photographer takes an image in a public setting, under US law, it's their image regardless of whose likeness is used in the photo. The penalty for infringement can be hundreds of thousands of dollars per image if it's used without the photographer's permission and or without proper licensing. Around 2018, when all of this was taking place, lawsuits like this were being filed left and right by photographers. According to Afrotech, there was an explosive report that revealed celebrities were getting sued en masse by photo agencies for posting professional photos of themselves that they didn't actually own the copyrights to. Jennifer Lopez, Gigi Hadid, 50 Cent, Jessica Simpson, and Khloe Kardashian are just a few of the many celebrities who have been sued by photo agencies for posting professional photos without explicit permission or compensation. But legality or illegality definitely doesn't equal morality or immorality. I don't think anyone would advocate for suing Nas over simply posting a photo of himself and his deceased friends. I think it's worth questioning whether continuously profiting off of the photos of artists, some of them deceased, is right at all, because Snoop brings up valid concerns. Photographers need to make a living and should be properly compensated for their work, but based on that $100 settlement offer we talked about earlier, I don't know how profitable copyright lawsuits even are. Considering the way that AI crawls the internet for photos and illustrations and puts them together in an attempt to make something new, this issue will only be exacerbated in the future. I think this struck a chord with me as well because of course it happened with Tupac's photos. Of course it did. Of course it happened with Tupac's photos, and there is no one living that was related to Tupac to manage his estate. Of course his photos are some of the most iconic photos in hip hop. Of course, of course, of course. Bye.